816-5555. Jacksonville. He's Hacker.
Talk about a fried egg. I lasted about 5 minutes out there. I said, to heck with this. I'll do this in the morning. And I don't have any inside information. The lady that did it, she got in there. She made it happen.
And he doesn't shy away from opinion.
And I do enjoy drinking cold beer at ballparks. So if that makes me a baseball fan, then I'm a diehard baseball fan.
It's Hacker After Dark on 1010XL.
And a very good Tuesday evening to you, Jacksonville. It is Hacker After Dark, 1010XL, 92.5 FM with Dylan Denmark. The Hacker Ryan Green with you. Glad you are with us on what should be a very, very busy Tuesday night here on Hacker After Dark. We got the Eastern Conference Finals of the Stanley Cup playoffs beginning, Florida and Carolina. We got the Western Conference Finals in the NBA beginning, Minnesota and Oklahoma City. That game one tips off in about 30 minutes. We got Jaguar things to discuss. We got Florida Gator and Florida State Seminole things to discuss. We got Florida basketball and some huge transfer portal things to discuss. Guest lineup tonight looks like this. One of my favorites when it comes to the world of college football, Josh Pate. Josh Pate has made a terrific career for himself. He is the host of the Josh Pate College Football Show. You see him all over social media. He's with CBS Sports and CBS Sports HQ. And Josh was down in Gainesville late last week for a sit-down with Gator head coach Billy Napier. We'll talk about the status of the Florida program heading into 2025 with one of the best when it comes to college football, Josh Pate. He comes up in less than 15 minutes. John Shipley, Jaguars on SI, will join me towards the bottom of the 8 o'clock hour, as we will certainly discuss Jaguar OTAs, a little Travis Hunter talk, and more. And in the 9 o'clock hour, we will talk a little college basketball. Boogie time in Gainesville. Boogie Flan, the transfer from Arkansas, commits to Florida today. You combine that news with Ruben Chinyelu coming back yesterday. All Florida's waiting on now is Alex Condon. We'll talk about the unbelievable job Todd Golden has done in these last 6 weeks since winning the national championship with Blake Lovell, host of the Southeastern 16 podcast. Blake joins me coming up later on in the 9 o'clock hour. So as you can tell, we're absolutely jam-packed. We will also kick off our NFC East preview tonight. One guest per night, rest of the week. We will make stops in Dallas, in New York, in Washington. Tonight, we'll preview the Philadelphia Eagles, the defending world champions. What has their offseason been like? Jeff Kerr of CBS Sports stops by later on as well in the 9 o'clock hour. Glad you're with us on a Tuesday. Every night here on Hacker After Dark, we do kick it off with a big deal of the night and Dylan Denmark. Let's do that right now.
Time now for the big deal of the night.
What's the big deal?
What is the big deal?
No big deal.
It is a big deal.
On Hacker After Dark.
So I have a Travis Hunter thought for you, and it's really a Travis Hunter city of Jacksonville thought for you that I'm starting to realize when I see some of the negativity surrounding Travis Hunter from some national folks on social media. Before we get there, I want you to hear a couple of sound bites from yesterday. One from Liam Cohen, one from Trevor Lawrence. This is courtesy from our friends at Jaguars.com. Here's the Jaguar head coach, Liam Cohen, talking about Travis Hunter and talking about what he's learning in the classroom, bringing that out to the football field.
I think so far so good. I mean, he had a couple missed assignments today that, he knew right away. He came off the grass and took accountability for him. The one thing you notice is a guy that hasn't played a ton of football or, been out conditioning maybe for the last 2 months because he was on a little bit of a tour. The guy can run forever. I mean, he just kind of goes, runs a route, runs back, runs. I mean, you can tell he's in football shape, and he was, he's done a nice job. Edgar Barrett, the coaches, Ron Milas, those guys have done a great job of meeting with him when they've had time to do so, and Travis has worked hard at getting this stuff right.
Those the thoughts of Jaguar head coach Liam Cohen about Travis Hunter. One more from yesterday's OTA session. Here's the starting quarterback for your Jacksonville Jaguars, Trevor Lawrence, talking about the juice, the energy that Travis Hunter is bringing with him to the practice field.
Got a lot of juice. Like he can run all day. A lot of energy. I love it. Good energy. Always dapping guys up, just bringing juice every day. And like I said, high motor, can just go. It's like a kid, just runs around all day. He doesn't get tired, it seems like. So you can't have enough of that. And then as far as just talent, I mean, kind of speaks for itself. Ball skills, run after the catch. He's very explosive. Just didn't realize how explosive he was in and out of cuts. You know, he's impressive to watch. And we've gotten to connect a couple times. It's only going to keep getting better and better. You know, we've only worked together for a couple days now, so we got some time to really dial in on the details.
The vibes here locally when it comes to Travis Hunter are very high, and with good reason. I mean, are you kidding me? The Jaguars got a guy that might literally change the way the game is played at the wide receiver position as well as playing defensive back. That's at least the plan, right, for right now. But let me ask you something. For those of you that frequent social media like I do, have you seen the negativity surrounding Travis Hunter from some national folks? There's a video from last week's rookie minicamp of Travis Hunter on a wet field, slipping a little bit on a route. There's also a video of, I guess, a drop yesterday in OTAs. Keep in mind, it is the month of May. And people are making a huge deal out about this. Bust alert, right? Travis Hunter might be a bust. Are you kidding me, man? It's the month of May. This guy's barely knows his teammates' names. He's been here less than 3 weeks. Why all the criticism nationally on Travis Hunter? I don't think it has very much to do with Travis Hunter, to be honest. I think it has to do with where he came. I think there are some folks that would have loved to see Travis Hunter in a Cleveland or a New York or a New England. But no, Travis Hunter came to Jacksonville. So as a result of Travis Hunter coming to Jacksonville, that makes Jacksonville having to be relevant for a lot of these national folks. And they don't like that. They don't like having to watch Jacksonville, because why have they ever needed to? I mean, I don't blame them. For 13 out of the last 15 years, there was no need to watch Jacksonville. We were awful. Except for 2017 and 2022, right? But I think this criticism of Travis Hunter is ridiculous. But again, it's my opinion that it has very little to do with the player. And I think people almost hope that he fails because of where he went to. Here with little old tiny Jacksonville. Again, if he were in Cleveland or New York or New England, the teams that were picking 2, 3, and 4 at the onset of the draft, I think the way he would have been covered would have been vastly different early on. I think the negativity has a lot to do with where he came, not who he is. Because you can't spend 10 seconds around Travis Hunter and not realize that, A, this is a really good kid. B, he's about all the right things. He's all football. And if it's not football, it's fishing. Or, I guess, an occasional video game, what his high school coach told me. He's enjoyable to be around. He brings the excitement. He brings the energy. He's been on the practice field here in Jacksonville for less than 3 weeks. Why the national narrative from some, not all, but some, about slipping on a route in rookie minicamp or about dropping a pass on a May 19th OTA and how, he's going to be a bust. I told you he's going to be a bust. Let's make those people eat those words in a couple of months. You know, it's always been Duval versus all y'all, right? At least that was the mantra by a lot of Jaguar fans. I never really bought into that. I like to think myself as an objective broadcast journalist. I let the fans, you guys, do that. But the older I get, the more I see, the more people I talk to nationally, I do think there is a little bias, negativity narrative towards little old Duval County here in Jacksonville. And because now Travis Hunter is here, maybe some people are rooting for him to fail now because he is a Jacksonville Jaguar. I think it's a ridiculous narrative. I want to tell those people where they can take that narrative. And you know what? I get the feeling, and I think you get the feeling, that Travis Hunter and this Jaguar football team may indeed tell those people where to take that narrative come September, October, and November. Take it with a grain of salt. Let it wash off your back when you see this stuff on social media. Again, it's unfortunate, but I think it's not about the player. It's about where he came. And hopefully we can make those people eat those words in a few months. 641-1010 on the text line. Designed by Lifetime Enclosures. Your thoughts are always welcome. The SEC baseball tournament going on, bottom of the 8th in Hoover. Florida 7, South Carolina 3. Gators were up 7-1. Gamecocks got a couple of runs, but Florida still a big lead, 7-3. Getting to the very, very latter stages of that game. A win for Florida today. They advance to tomorrow. It's that simple. You win, you advance. You lose in the SEC tournament, you go home. Florida's already done enough to me to be in the NCAA tournament. They're just adding to their seeding at this point, but it's looking good. Bottom 8, Florida up 7-3 on the South Carolina Gamecocks. Speaking of the Gators, Josh Pate, CBS Sports HQ. The college football show that Josh Pate hosts on YouTube, social media is terrific. He's made the rounds in this state. He was in Miami talking to Mario Cristobal. He was in Tallahassee talking to Mike Norvell last week. And he went to Gainesville to have a sit down with Billy Napier. Let's talk about all of that. Let's talk Florida primarily, but we will touch upon Miami and Florida State with Josh Pate of CBSSports.com. He joins me next on a Tuesday night here in Duval County. It's Hacker After Dark on 1010XL and on 92.5 FM.
Remember when Dan Hicken and Jeff Prosser broke into show business?
I just love auditioning new talent. I get all excited.
Look at them now.
We're partners.
And together, they're The Drill.
You bet. We're friends, aren't we?
Partners and friends.
Mornings on 1010XL.
Join us at Miller Electric May 29th from 4 to 7 p.m. We're on the lookout for talented people, from entry-level to experienced electricians and foremen, security system installation and service technicians, fire alarm system service technicians, and both senior and junior VDV technicians. This is your chance to get hired on the spot. Meet the managers, indulge in delicious food, and snag some awesome giveaways. Don't miss out on this electrifying chance to power up your career. Miller Electric, May 29th, 4 to 7 p.m., 6805 South Point Parkway.
This is Hayes Carline, and I'm so proud of my guy, Leon Searcy.
Man, I used to want to eat all the time, but just 1 month on precision-guided weight loss, and I've already dropped 15 pounds.
And I lost 25. No side effects, just results.
The GLP-1 curbs my cravings and keeps me feeling full. It's been easier than I expected, and I feel amazing.
Their staff is great, and best of all, no surprise cost.
If you're ready to bring sexy back this summer, visit pgweightloss.com.
Physician-guided weight loss, safe, doctor supervised.
And it works.
Open early and open late. Dailies is always there, making things easy for you to cruise in and cruise out. So hit Dailies Cold Case the next time you're craving a cold one. Bud Light by the case, plus plenty of singles to choose from. Corona to the King of Beers to Stella or a Natty. They're all cold at Dailies.
4 guys, want a golf course fairway quality lawn? TopDressing.com just landed in Jacksonville with the golf course secret for St. Augustine grass homeowners. A patented process that aerates and turns your turf into a fairway stunner. Serious golf course technology, but in your yard. Less water, tighter cuts, total neighborhood domination. No one else scores a perfect 10 lawn. Hit TopDressing.com now. You will own the block. Top dress your yard like the pros with TopDressing.com.
The best teal-colored coverage includes Mia's Quick Hits.
Get the latest news from inside the building and around the league. I'm Mia O'Brien, 1010XL's NFL Insider.
Driven by Arlington Toyota. Available on the video and social channels of 1010XL.
Are you thinking about a pool for your home? Blue Haven Pools is Jacksonville's largest pool builder. They've built pools for over 20,000 satisfied families since 2000. It's never been easier to design the perfect pool for your home, family, and budget. Call Blue Haven Pools today at 904-620-0090 to get a free in-home estimate for your in-ground pool, or visit bluehaven.com. Don't let another summer pass by without a pool. Join thousands of happy Jacksonville pool owners in a Blue Haven pool.
Yo, 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 it's your boy E to the T here, and I know that getting into an accident is stressful, but getting the proper care doesn't have to be. That's why I recommend McGowan Spinal Rehabilitation Center. Even if you're at fault, your insurance covers you. And remember, you have the right to choose your own doctor. Even a minor accident can cause whiplash for years if it goes untreated. So don't wait. Call the auto accident experts at McGowan Spinal Rehabilitation. Your recovery starts today.
When you're experiencing sudden, unexpected dental pain, the last thing you want to hear is that your dentist can't see you until next week. That's why I'm so glad I found Harbor Dental Care. Whenever I call, they always find a way to see me within 24 hours, and they can usually fix whatever's wrong the same day. Plus, they have locations throughout Jacksonville, so no matter what side of town I'm on, I can always count on the same great care. If you want to find a dentist who believes in treating people right, learn more at harbordental.care. That's HARBOUR dental.care.
Yo, E.T. here, and I need you to beat the heat this summer with cool escapes and non-stop fun in Clay County. Tackle indoor adventures head on. Throw axes at Live by Axe or smash your stress away at Just Smash That. Then kick back with drinks, good food, and fandom vibes at Nakama Anime Bar or Leaderboard Arcade and Bar. Whether you're blowing off steam or just looking to chill, Clay County got your perfect indoor getaway. Find your pool at exploreclay.com. That's exploreclay.com.
Denny Thompson here. If you haven't heard, Tyson Sound and Security has a house built right inside their showroom, showcasing complete home automation and security systems. You have to see it to believe it. This setup can recognize intruders who approach your door and alerts them to leave if there's a break-in. Keep your family safe with the most state-of-the-art technology. Tyson Sound and Security, your security, home theater, and home automation experts. New showroom at 3555 U.S. Highway 17 in Fleming Island.
Tired of wrestling with your shower curtain like it's a fight for the last slice of pizza? Ditch the drama and say hello to a smooth, stylish glass shower enclosure from Baker Glass. Wago Glass is clean, elegant, and makes your bathroom look huge and brighter. Give your shower a makeover and feel like you're in a spa without the price tag. I'm Mac at Baker Glass. Call me and get ready to love your new shower. Let's make your shower great again. Remember, Baker Glass. No one treats you better.
Hey, Hicken here, or just call me Dreamfinders Danny. For a limited time to ring in the new year, Dreamfinders Homes is offering an amazing 4.99% fixed interest rate. Now's your chance to lock down that rate and get in the game. You heard me right. It's 4.99 fixed interest rate on select move-in ready homes. Visit dreamfindershomes.com for sales event information and get in the game. Interest rate available on select move-in ready homes. Restrictions and limitations apply. Go to dreamfindershomes.com for more details.
Ever wonder where your food comes from? Get back to the good old days with fresh produce delivered to you from local family farms. Subscribe today at doorbellfarms.com. Connecting real people with real family farms.
1010XL is presented by Farah & Farah, exclusive injury law firm of the Jacksonville Jaguars. Protecting you and your family. Call 396-5555. Jacksonville. Now, another great guest on the Checkmate Coatings phone line. Hello. Your floor's missing piece.
Back here on 1010XL at 92.5 FM in the city of Jacksonville. We are glad you are with us. The middle to end portion of May. Certainly a lot of people looking forward to college football. The preseason magazines will be out in a couple of weeks. We are inside of 2 months until SEC Media Days. There's a lot to get into, a lot of hype surrounding the 2025 season. And with that, let me bring in one of my favorites, Josh Pate, CBS Sports HQ. He's also the host of the Josh Pate College Football Show. And Josh is always kind enough to join us here on 1010XL. Josh, it's been a little while, man. How are you?
Yeah, I've been hanging out down in your neck of the woods, actually. Been to all three major programs down there, talked to all 3 head coaches. Been doing that all spring, man. Been all over the country. So this is a weird time of year. When I was a kid, I used to feel like, oh, this is like a wasteland. I got to wait forever for college football. And now that you do it for a living, you find out this is low-key the most valuable time of the year because you can get out on the road and sit down face-to-face with staff and talk to coaches. It's great. There are no games, but it's great.
No, I hear you, and you're exactly right. You've been very busy in our state. I know you were down talking to Mario Cristobal in Miami. You mentioned Florida State, but I primarily want to focus with you, Josh, on the Florida Gators. You've been very high on Florida on your program. I think you had them in your top 10 for post-spring rankings nationally, and you had to sit down with Billy Napier last week that I know a lot of Gator fans really enjoyed.
Yeah, look, the sit-down notwithstanding, so let's tackle this bit by bit. I am not someone who looks at a team in the preseason and says, first off, my word is gospel. You got to be really flexible on it. So I think highly of Florida right now. Reserve the right to change my mind. I don't think I will, but the follow-up to that is a lot of people look at schedule, and they project how they think a team will do against their schedule, and then they rank them. I don't really do that. I don't believe in doing that. So I look at Florida, whether they're playing the toughest or easiest schedule in the country, and I just try and stack them up comparatively to other teams. And I feel very similarly about them as I do about Oklahoma. I'm not just, because a record was something last year, going to assume that that record will be the way it is again this year. I think those are both really high-level potential teams. Now, they're high-variance teams, too, because of their schedule. But, you know, Napier, I said this to you last year. I'm going to say it again this year. That guy takes a fair amount of criticism. Some of it deserved. That's completely fine. I'm not here to defend him. But what I will say is, when you sit down with them and when you're in their building, when you're talking to their staff, they're so resolute in the way they go about their business. Now, you can be resolute in doing things the wrong way. You can be confident and also be wrong. They're banking that they're right. But what I'm trying to say is the outside world probably thinks if you haven't gotten the results you want, there's a lot of confusion and, you know, moving around of deck chairs on the Titanic. And that's just not the way it feels there at all. And I'm really interested with the way last year ended. You know, that's probably the first real glaringly positive sign that many people around that program, including the fan base, has gotten that, oh, maybe this is the right way. Maybe Billy is on to something. So all that, of course, leads to this fall. And does it really spark this fall? His fate, obviously, is really kind of tied to DJ Lagway. That's not a bad guy to have your fate tied to. I know there was a lot of talk about him in spring and how much he was or wasn't participating. I had my mind put at ease about his availability come fall, and I know Napier's been kind of vocal about that in the latter portion of spring ball, but I just think it's such a high-level potential team, and I think it's going to be a lot of fun to watch them because as much as, you know, here's the one change. As much as people will talk about how tough Florida's schedule is, here's the one thing that I will say every team on Florida's schedule has to be aware of this year. They got to play Florida as well. Mm-hmm. So Georgia's got to play Florida. Texas has got to go to Florida, and that will not be easy. That's not some pencil-in W this year the way it may have seemed in the past.
Josh Pate, CBS Sports HQ with us here on 1010XL in Jacksonville. And I thought the offseason for Florida really started when they got those 4 linemen back, 2 on offense, 2 on defense, Josh. When Slaughter and Barber on offense, Banks and Sapp on defense returned. I mean, those are 4 guys that probably would have heard their name called in the NFL draft late last month. And the fact that all of those guys are back, in fact, 4/5 of the starting offensive line is back. You bring back a lot of the defense. You bring back a lot of the skill position. Trey Wilson is healthy. Look, I agree with you. I think Florida on paper, this is clearly Billy's best roster heading into a season.
Without question. So that's what they've built towards. And I think also, you know, to get in the weeds a little bit, they've been very smart with the way they've tried to build their roster. They haven't, the way I put it on the show last night, as you and I are talking here on Monday, is they haven't leaned out over their skis. They haven't overly exposed themselves with the way they spend. They've been pretty smart. They've had a plan. They've stuck to it. They hadn't recruited a bunch of top 3 classes, but they've got top 10 caliber classes all throughout the roster. They've selectively done a good job in the portal, but they're really good also at making sure guys have gotten reps. There were a lot of young guys last year. They played. They just made it a point. Play them 1 series per half or per game. Make sure they've got reps because in this day and age, your 2 deep is littered with freshmen. You hope the front end guys are experienced, but you're going to have young guys litter threats 2 deep. That's the best in the country that's dealing with that. So I think they've done a really good job there. And then that's why I go back to the high end potential. Of course, the one wild card with every team is injury. And it doesn't matter which lineman you bring back. If they get hurt, then you could get derailed. But we can't predict injury. So if we get a relatively clean season there, I agree with you. I don't think it's comparable. That's easily the best looking team that he will have put on the field. Now you just got to go win with them.
Josh, I'm curious if you got into some of the freshmen. Dallas Wilson made a big impact in the spring. I know a lot of Gator fans are also very high on Vernell Brown, Nashawn Montgomery. How happy, how satisfied are the Florida coaching staff about these incoming freshmen?
They're really happy. I mean, they feel like they did a really good job. They feel like they hit on a lot of those kids. I worked out at the same time. A lot of those guys were working out the day I was there. So I saw, a lot of the work they're putting in that the public doesn't get to see. That's a very spirited group of guys. I'll put it that way. That is a group that has not come in sort of sheepishly and, settled into the corner and kept their mouth shut and just tried to learn the ways of the program. They've gone in there with the full intent on playing, which is the way you got to be wired in major college football. It's sort of a validation to see that behind the scenes at Florida. But also, I'll go back to what I just said. And Billy talked about this during the sit down he did with us. Philosophically, you've got to plan on playing those guys, partly out of necessity, but even the ones you're not going to count on to start per se, you've got to have a plan to play them at some points during the season. Number one, to keep them engaged and to make sure they're developing. Number two, because you're going to need them probably this year, and if not this year, definitely next year. And that's if you're right. If you're right that you hit on them, you better have them ready to play in the next 12 to 24 months maximum.
Josh Pate, CBS Sports HQ. Josh, final Florida question. Look, it's tough to say. It's obviously the latter portion of May, so we got a long time to go still. But in your opinion, has Florida built this roster up enough to where they have the depth that, say, the upper-tier SEC teams do, whether that be a Georgia, an LSU, an Alabama, a Texas?
I think it's headed both ways. I don't think their depth is on par with the best of the best of the best yet. So I would put them at a B tier in terms of the depth. But the thing about the A tier is today's A tier would have been yesterday's B tier. You're just not 3 deep. No one is 3 deep anymore like Alabama used to be or like Georgia used to be. Ohio State last year. People's lasting memory of that team is them buzzsawing through the playoff. And you kind of remember them as this super team. Well, they lost 2 games in the regular season, and their offensive line got beat to death. And they relied on the portal to even survive there. So that's Ohio State. Like, that's one of the deepest teams. So, if I say Florida's not totally comparable to those teams, they're not off by much because there is no truly elite depth out there anymore. Therefore, it's easier to pull to within striking distance. And honestly, if you're worth your salt as a coaching staff, that's all you need to be. You don't need to be stacking your 2 deep up and looking at your top 44 versus Georgia's top 44. You just got to be competitive with them and then go beat them on game day. That's what the game is all about.
And that's where we are now, you're right, with the land of NIL and obviously the transfer portal. Josh, quickly, you were also in Tallahassee. They're coming off 2-10, just a disaster in 2024. Obviously, a lot of change on the staff. A lot of change on the roster, including a brand-new quarterback in Castellanos. What's your opinion on Florida State as we head into the summer months?
Easily one of the biggest wild card question mark sort of unknown teams out there. I don't have a good feel for them. That's not because I didn't try. It's not because I didn't go there and talk to as many people as I could. I just don't know that they really know yet. When you take the approach they take and be as portal reliant as they are, they have answers. Like all the questions, all the problems everyone points out, Mike would have an answer to all that. Mike's a really good dude, man. He's very hard to pull against. And so it's not that they don't have a plan, they're not working hard, they're not addressing it. It's just that people work hard all the time and lose 6 games in this sport. Good guys lose 7 games all the time in this sport. So those things alone are not guarantees of anything. And when you're trying to hit the reset button, half a decade plus or whatever he is into your tenure, it doesn't sit well when you make the kind of money he makes. And you can call that fair or unfair, whatever. It's reality, though. Lincoln Riley's dealing with the same thing or a version of it at USC. These people are not paying you what they're paying you to experiment. You go experiment at Toledo. You go experiment at Utah State. You better know what you're doing at Florida State. That's what you were at Memphis for. You do that stuff at Memphis. You come to Florida State, you better know how to recruit. You better know how to develop and retain. And I don't know. They could win 9 games and win 4 games this year, and neither of those results would surprise me.
It'll be interesting to see how Gus Malzahn works up there. Josh, we got 60 seconds. You were down in Coral Gables as well. Leave us with your thought on Miami.
So weird coming off a double-digit win season, but still feeling like they left a ton on the table. But they did. And that's with the Cam Ward, but also the defensive side being terrible. And so they made a lot of defensive personnel moves. There's nowhere to go but up on that side of the ball. The question is, all right, what do you have with Carson Beck? You know, he started to throw. Him and Lagway will both be fine, I think, for fall camp. But what are you getting out of that offense? Because that's one of the best offensive staffs and units in the country right now. If they can just be complementary in nature, they can compete for the ACC. They should be a playoff team. And as ironic as it seems, coming off a 10-win season, I still think that staff's got a lot to prove, and they know they've got a lot to prove.
Josh, tell the good folks here in Jacksonville about CBS Sports, CBS Sports HQ, your show, and if they missed the Billy Napier interview from last week, where they can find it.
Yeah, I appreciate it, by the way. I always love coming on with you, man. Even when my allergies aren't attacking me like they are now. Any of those sit-downs, any of the stuff, any of my shows, it's all Josh Pate's College Football Show. It's on the YouTube channel in its entirety. It's in the podcast feed in its entirety. So wherever you get your shows, you can find it there.
He's one of our favorites. Josh Pate does a terrific job. Again, he had sit-downs last week at Florida, Florida State, and Miami, including that sit-down with Billy Napier. And I strongly urge Gator fans to go check out that one-on-one interview. Josh, I know you're busy. Thank you for the time. We'll talk again soon, pal.
I appreciate it, man. Good to talk to you.
There you go, Josh Pate. Always enjoy the conversation there. And I'll tell you this, you know, the positive vibes on Florida aside, it's May, right? It's early. We're 3 months away plus from college football. But the more people you talk to about Florida State, well, the more questions people have, right? I don't know if we've really maybe I'll go to get some of my guys on from Tallahassee into this week, maybe sometime next week as well. I've talked to a lot of national guys in the last couple of weeks, and you bring up Florida State, and they're like, yeah, they did a lot on the coaching staff, and they brought a lot of guys in, but is that really going to matter? I mean, they're going to be better than last year simply by default, because at Florida State, you literally can't be any worse than 2-10 this year because they have 2 absolutely atrocious out-of-conference games. So I think they're going to improve their win total substantially, but what does that mean? Does that mean 6? Does that mean 7? And at 6-6 or 7-5, what is the status of Mike Norvell for 2026? I mean, you talk to people as well. They think Clemson's the best team in the country. I talked to Max Chadwick from PFF today, Josh Pate as well. They both love Clemson. Love Clemson. We think Miami's going to be good. We think Florida's going to be good. We know Alabama's going to be good. Well, guess what? All 4 of those teams are on Florida State's schedule. They open with Alabama, they go to Clemson, they go to Florida, and they play Miami. It is a tough schedule for the Noles. We'll see how Mike Norvell and the Seminoles can maneuver their way through it. More college talk coming up. Blake Lovell, the Southeastern 16. Not on the gridiron, but on the hardwood. You see what happened in Gainesville today? Maybe the best player left in the portal. Boogie Flan, the former McDonald's All-American, commits to Florida a day after Ruben Chinulu announced he's coming back. Now all eyes are on Alex Condon. If they get Alex Condon back, they'll be preseason top 3, top 5. It's a pretty incredible job by Todd Golden. When you lose Walter Clayton, Will Richard, Elijah Martin, and Denzel Aberdeen, and you still might be preseason top 5, Todd Golden's doing some stuff. We'll talk with Blake Lovell about that in the 9 o'clock hour. Also, our NFC East previews kick off tonight. We'll go to Philadelphia, talk to the world champions about their offseason. Jeff Kerr of CBS Sports joins us about an hour from now. Coming up next, let's focus on the Jaguars. OTAs going on. Let's talk Travis Hunter. Let's talk Trevor Lawrence. All points in between. My buddy John Shipley does such a great job covering the Jaguars for the Jaguars on SI. He joins us next here on a Tuesday night in the city of Jacksonville. We're glad you're with us. Hacker After Dark till 10 o'clock right here on 1010XL and on 92.5 FM.
Hear the big moments and game-changing plays.
That is another pick six. Touchdown, Jacksonville.
Your home for the most play-by-play is 1010XL.
I'm here with Danny Van Sickle, director of the Electrical Training Alliance. Danny, tell me about your program.
Hey, Rick. We're a 4-year electrical apprenticeship. Our students start out making over $40,000 a year, and right now make over $90,000 a year, including benefits. There is no tuition or student debt. You just have to apply and get accepted.
Did you say no tuition and no student debt?
You heard that right, Rick. Once you're accepted to the program, your only cost for the books and the course fees. About $800 a year.
That sounds like an amazing opportunity. How can I learn more?
Just go to etajax.org and you can apply there.
Apply by November 6th.
Bueller. Stay cooler with Bueller.
Jason, I don't see how a new air conditioner is going to work out for me.
Well, you like air conditioning, right?
Oh, yeah, totally. But a new air conditioner could be expensive.
Well, not if you...
I mean, to save up the money, I probably have to give up my extra hot skim latte every morning. Now I fall asleep during a staff meeting, get volunteered for the summer picnic committee, and end up sitting in the dunk tank all afternoon getting water up my nose.
Okay, look at it this way. Put on these sunglasses. Whoa. Bueller Air and Plumbing puts in a new AC. We hook you up with affordable financing, and you stay cool and comfortable for just $149 a month. Cool?
Cool. I see it now.
Life can be hard on your budget. If you suffer through the heat because of a broken AC you could totally afford to replace, you could visit.
Stay cooler with Bueller.
Visit BuellerAir.com.
Shopping with your parents can be embarrassing.
Why would they sell jeans with holes in them? I'm going to speak to the manager.
Mom!
That hoodie is giving. You should get it. YOLO.
Thanks to the Chase mobile app, your kid can shop independently while you keep an eye on their spending. So you can go from...
We can be twinsies.
...to...
How was shopping? Saw you stayed on budget.
Thanks, Mom. Freedom for kids, control for parents. That's family banking from Chase.
Account subject to approval. Chase mobile app is available for select mobile devices. Message and data rates may apply. JP Morgan Chase Bank N.A. Member FDIC.
It's Work Zone Awareness Week, Florida. Every year, lives are lost in work zones because of speeding and distractions. When you see orange cones, remember, slow down, follow the signs, and stay focused. Workers are counting on you to get home safely, and so are their families. Let's work together to prevent crashes and save lives. A safety reminder from the Florida Department of Transportation. Slow your roll. Safety's the goal.
Cooking with Prisco.
These things are wonderful. You're going to love it. Have a rollie.
Catch CBS Sports senior NFL writer Pete Prisco every Friday afternoon on The Franchi Show. Brought to you by Showtime Sports Cards and Collectibles on 1010XL.
This is your Mad Dad's Update with Chapter President Donald Ford. In our effort to curb crime, drugs, and violence during the summer months, we are offering Friday Night Lights. It has already started and will be going until school starts back. It is every Friday night from 6:30 to 9:30 at the Blacktop, 5732 Normandy Boulevard, and behind the Potter's House Christian Academy. We manage 3 basketball courts. You are not running on the cement. We have covering on each court. The Lakers, the Magic, and the Heat. Ages 15 to 40 years old. This will give them something to do other than selling drugs and getting into trouble. We have monitors there giving leadership. We have to wake up, stand up, and speak up. Hit me on Facebook and tell me what you think. Or MattDadJacksonville.com.
Here's your 1010XL community calendar of local events and nonprofit groups helping people here at home.
You can help Micah's Place support domestic violence victims by playing in the Par for a Purpose golf tournament June 20th at the stunning Golf Club of Amelia Island. Register at micahsplace.org/golf.
City Rescue Mission provides life-changing support for the homeless. Find ways to get involved at crmjax.org.
If you could benefit from a grief and loss support group, call Haven Hospice at 279-1677.
You have healing power. Even writing a letter or volunteering can help heal a veteran. Find out more at healvets.org.
The Hometown for Heroes Home Buyers Program helps you get your down payment and closing costs paid. Call to learn more. 574-7180.
You can find out how to share your community event at 1010xl.com.
Hey everybody, it's Mike Dempsey, and I only like to recommend the best, which is why I'm proud to say that I chose Pella Windows and Doors for my own home. And now's a great time to upgrade your home with 0% financing for 60 months. That's 5 years of interest-free payments on the best windows and doors in the business. Don't wait. Schedule a free consultation at PellaJacks.com or visit their showroom on Phillips Highway just north of Bay Meadows. For quality you can trust and savings you can't miss, that's Pella Windows and Doors.
Hi, I'm Sean Monahan from Monahan Jewelers in Atlantic Beach. Since 1977, we've been Jacksonville's local family jeweler with a beautiful selection of fine jewelry and certified diamonds. But we're also Jacksonville's leading buyer of gold and silver and diamonds from the public. Gold has recently hit an all-time high at almost $3,000 per ounce. Pay bills, buy something fun. Now is the time to sell your gold for cash and get top dollar or trade it in for a new piece and get even more value at Monahan Jewelers in Atlantic Beach.
1010XL is presented by Farah and Farah, exclusive injury law firm of the Jacksonville Jaguars. Protecting you and your family. Call 396-5555. Jacksonville. Now, another great guest on the Checkmate Coatings phone line.
Hello.
Your floor's missing piece.
Back here on 1010XL at 92.5 FM in the city of Jacksonville. We are glad you are with us. Boy, this NFL offseason is turning right along. The Jaguars already into OTAs. We were out there yesterday at the Miller Electric Center. Let's talk about OTA number one. OTAs will continue the rest of this week and the next week as well. And let's talk Travis Hunter and the rest of this draft class. John Shipley, Jaguars on SI, always kind enough to join us here on Hacker After Dark. John, how we doing, man?
Yeah, doing great, my friend. How you doing?
Hey, John, we're good. It was good to see you yesterday, bud. And look, it was what it was. It was an OTA practice on May 19th. But my takeaways, John, I talked about it last night and so far this evening, kind of sloppy on offense, which I guess is what you might expect for this time of the year. What were your biggest takeaways from yesterday's media session?
Oh, no, that was definitely, that definitely has to be, I think, if you're just talking about this individual practice in an isolated setting, that was really, I think, the theme of the day. I think, obviously, like you said, it has to be the context of OTAs. It was the first real competitive setting for this roster under this coaching staff. They're learning a new offense. They're learning a new different defense. By most accounts in, the world of football, offense normally takes a little longer, scheme-wise to really get humming than defense, and that's not even taking into account the complexity of Liam Cohen's scheme, which, a lot of people say is pretty significant. So I think if you're using that context, it probably would have been a little surprising if the Jaguars weren't sloppy on offense on Monday. But that's definitely, just in terms of what exactly did we see, I'd say that's it. There were, 5 turnovers, 2 from Trevor Lawrence, 2 from interceptions from Wolford and Mullins, and of course the fumble by Tootin on his, first carry in team drills that Liam Cohen kind of highlighted after practice. And it wasn't just that, though. There were some overthrows, even in individual settings from Lawrence and the other quarterbacks. There were some drops, even from their best players, like Brian Thomas Jr., stuff like that. So just wasn't a very clean practice. And I thought Liam Cohen was very honest and very frank after the practice by, stating that, hey, wasn't, we want to be perfect. We don't expect to be perfect, but wasn't exactly a good practice for the offense. I felt like more or less is what he was saying. So I feel like that's what we saw. I feel like, during this time of the offseason, that might be kind of what, we should expect. You're always going to see people overreact to any kind of practice setting. And I don't think it's a surprise to see it happen with OTAs this time around, but definitely room for improvement for the offense moving forward.
And to that point, you mentioned William Cohen. I was kind of taken aback, but in a positive way. He was asked about Michelle Tootin, and he's like, yeah, he fumbled the ball the first time he touched it. I was like, whoa. I mean, this is the 4th head coach you've covered since you covered the Jags. I've been around a little longer, but, I mean, look, coaches don't often say that, particularly coaches that are out there in their first OTA as a head coach. I mean, was that kind of a tone setter for Liam Cohen yesterday?
Yeah, no, I mean, absolutely. I was, you mentioned I've covered 4 coaches. Doug Marrone didn't really say anything. Urban Meyer didn't know his own players' names, and Doug Peterson didn't really say anything. So I've, come from a time of covering head coaches where I'm not expecting them to, frankly, be honest and be direct in these, press conference settings. And it just seems like, Liam Cohen has said that before, that a key part of his regime is going to be clear communication. They're going to be honest and upfront, even if it's uncomfortable at times. And it definitely seems like that's, the direction he's taken. The Tuden answer was the best example. I remember walking away from it and laughing. And he was being asked, like, what do you think of Tuden? And immediately goes, well, he fumbled today. So it's just, very clearly, I think, shows you just what his style is going to be. And he wasn't saying it in a way to degrade him or complain about him or anything like that. He's just being honest because, had that fumble happen at, their next OTA when the media is not out there, he wouldn't talk about, him having a fumbling issue or anything like that. But he had to answer it because we all saw it. It had been tweeted about. We all saw it. We all took note of it. We're all going to write about it. And instead of, I think, dancing away from, that reality, he embraces it. And, he says, hey, this is what happened. This is how we're going to address it. And he did it, I think, in a positive way, to the point where, he said he thinks that and hopes that it'll be a learning moment, that he has started doing some things really well. So definitely in terms of just giving you the straight rib and the very honest truth of it, he stands out from the coaches I've covered so far in my career.
John Shipley, Jaguars on SI, with us here on 1010XL in Jacksonville. John, I obviously want to get to Travis Hunter in a moment, but one thing I made note of last night, the roster turnover from where we were in training camp of 24 to where we are in OTAs of 25. Now, on that roster sheet that the PR staff gave us yesterday, there are 90 names on it. I might have missed one or two either way, but I counted up, I believe, 49 of the 90 that were on that sheet yesterday that were not here in August of 2024. I mean, what does that tell you about where this roster is and the amount of turnover we've had here in about the last 9 months?
100%. That's what happens when you get a new regime. They want to put their new eyes, their new perspective on things. They have no biases toward the last regime's players. Obviously guys like Trevor Lawrence, Trayvon Walker, Josh Hines Allen, Brian Thomas Jr. are studs who every coaching staff and every front office regime will consider studs. So nothing like that goes into it. But for the other guys, the guys they didn't acquire, they're going to have different evaluations than, say, Trent Baalke and Doug Peterson did. And I'd say, fast forwards in this time next year, I'd say that number of, of guys who is left from the 2024 Jaguars roster will be even significantly smaller. You got a number of guys in contract years this year. And I think what the Jags did in free agency by not re-signing to this day a single one of their internal free agents was a sign of what they thought about, the roster. And, they added, 12 free agents, 30 plus rookies if you count draft picks and undrafted free agents. They added a ton of people to this roster this offseason. Obviously, not all are going to stick, but unless you're one of the true building blocks of the roster, I think you get for a spot to, remain with the team moving forward.
Your early thoughts on Travis Hunter?
First of all, the athleticism, the dynamic, just athlete and playmaker that he is, comes across right away very easily. You just can see that some guys move differently, some guys play differently, and it's very clear that he's one of those. His explosiveness, his change of direction, the way he catches the football, his ball skills, his coordination and balance, it's all very clear, after seeing hundreds and hundreds of NFL players practice, since I started in 2019, which guys move differently and which guys do not. And he is certainly a guy that moves differently. And you could tell, he made some impressive plays in the team settings yesterday. Obviously, pads aren't on, but he was getting open. He was making catches near the sideline. The one thing I will say is I thought it was way more evident at the rookie minicamp practice last week, but he's going to need to take some time as a wide receiver. And that to me is why. So like when I was evaluating him as a prospect, I thought the best, course of motion was playing him cornerback full time because that's where he's best at, and then sprinkle him in on offensive wide receiver. Obviously, they're going a different route, I think, for a couple of reasons. One, Liam's, of course, an offensive guy. Two, because the way you win in the NFL is by scoring more points. So it's intrinsically more valuable for him to hit his ceiling as a wide receiver than as a corner. I understand all that, but honestly, I've come around on the idea of how they're going to use him simply because I think he needs the reps at wide receiver. I think he needs to spend the majority of his time practicing wide receiver right now because it wasn't something that he was practicing the majority of the time at Colorado. He didn't have a lot of the fundamental little details of the position, at Colorado. He was winning purely on his out-of-the-world athleticism. So I think that's where he needs to develop right now. I thought at rookie minicamp you could see a little bit of that rawness, and it's not something I feel like he's running away from either. He embraces it. You see him start over drills in practice when he doesn't get it completely right. He's, an intense and competitive practice player. For example, I put out a story yesterday where I said something about how LaQuint Allen appears ready to work, and somebody commented and said, it's just like the PGA Tour, they're all hard workers and ready to work. And my answer would be no, that's not true. I've covered a lot of rookies in my career who aren't great practice players, who aren't ready to work, who sometimes have to grow up, and sometimes who don't grow up. And Travis Hunter, I think from that respect, no issues there. He just needs more time at task on the receiver position.
No, I completely agree. And it's like I got an email from a listener when I was talking about they're drafting guys that love football, and somebody said, well, Hacker, of course, everybody loves football. I said, no. I've talked to many players here that might like football. There are some guys that have done it for a job. I genuinely think a lot of guys on that 90-man roster right now love football, and there is a big difference between loving football and just doing it because you make a lot of money and it's your profession. A couple of more for John Shipley, Jaguars on SI. Quickly, the final Travis Hunter thought before a final broad overview. I get the sense the scrutiny is going to be massive on him nationally. One video or a couple of videos from yesterday have been making the rounds to a couple of major websites, and they're comparing he and Tet McMillan up at Carolina and about the route running this and the lack of hand catching that. And I just get the sense, John, that because it's Jacksonville and maybe, it wouldn't be this way if he was in a bigger market or with a more well-known team, respected team nationally, whatever you want to call it. I get the sense the scrutiny on Travis Hunter is going to be amplified. Do you agree with that?
Oh, it's 100% going to be amplified, especially because he's doing something unique that people really haven't seen, attempting to play two positions. He's been very assertive and very clear on his goals to do that, which, I think there's no issue with whatsoever, but I think some people are just naturally doubting him. I think when you also throw in the price the Jags paid for him, the fact that James Gladstone, said he can transcend the sports, et cetera, stuff like that. I think people are just naturally skeptical. And, it's sports. Sometimes, like when LeBron James was on the SI cover, I'm sure there's a lot of people saying, no way this guy is, going to meet those expectations. Even if at the end of the day, it'd be a great thing for the sport and a good thing for everybody to see if he does. Some people are just naturally skeptical when, you kind of proclaim somebody's going to do these great things before it actually happens. So I think no matter where he'd be, I do think there'd be the skepticism. I think any market that he's in, I think, that's just the kind of star he is. And, for my money, I've, the time I've covered the Jaguars, I've didn't cover Jalen Ramsey only for a couple weeks, covers Trevor Lawrence's whole career, et cetera. Every Jaguar since then. Travis Hunter is already the biggest star I've seen, play for the Jaguars. And I've only seen him practice twice now. And I think that just speaks to who he is, what his brand is. Like, I have family who doesn't even watch football, who knows who Travis Hunter is because they're younger. They, watch streams, video games, all the stuff like that, all the stuff that he does outside of football to brand himself. He is a true star. And I think with that comes that natural level of skepticism and criticism that's kind of always going to be there.
I agree. I'm the oldest 41-year-old on the planet. You're a young man, John, so you're more in that social media world than I am. I didn't realize the type of cachet Travis Hunter had away from the football field. I've picked up on that pretty quick in the last couple of weeks, so I agree with you. I mean, the guy is an absolute star, both on and off the field. John, before we talk about Jaguars on SI, final thought on the roster, at least for now. Look, it's early. It's the month of May, OTAs for the next couple of weeks. But I looked yesterday, man, offensive line, they're going to have to make some tough decisions at the back end of that on roster. Safety, I think, is another one. They're going to be cutting some guys that Jaguar fans know. They're going to be cutting some guys that have played ball for the Jaguars. There are going to be some tough cuts that are going to have to be made here in a couple of months.
Yeah, no, I absolutely. I think there are going to be some guys who are cut who we've seen play significant roles or even start in years past. And, specifically offensive line, they brought in 6 new offensive linemen this offseason. I'd imagine at worst 5 of those 6 make it, but I would think 6. I wouldn't think this team is looking to cut any rookies. That means, several guys from the pass regime. I know some offensive linemen have already moved on, but several guys further down the depth chart, guys, like a Cooper Hodges, guys like a Javon Foster, they're going to have to fight and really scratch and claw their way to a roster spot. And I think you can say the same really across the team. So I think there would definitely be some big names that can be considered to, be on the move as we get closer to training camp. And I think you already saw that in the offseason earlier, with the moves with Evan Ingram, Christian Kirk, just moving on from so many of the guys in the pass regime that they simply hit the reset button. And unless you're one of those 4 to 5 true, blue chip players on the roster, your spot probably isn't safe.
John, it's a busy time of year. Jaguars on SI. I know you'll be out at every open media, OTA, mini camp as well next month. What can people look forward to on the website and with the podcast?
Yeah, absolutely. We're going to continue breaking down the rookie class. We're, the site's putting out our first, rookie film review from our writer, Jared Feinberg, who does a fantastic job. He looks at LaQuint Allen, who, I put out my one-on-one interview with him from rookie minicamp the other day. He's, a great guy. Seems very ready to, embrace the work that is the NFL. So just stuff like that as we continue to look at the moves the Jaguars have made and how the roster is shaping up moving into 2025.
Jaguar fans, John Shipley is a terrific follow. Follow him, Jaguars on SI. John, appreciate it, man. I'll see you out there at OTAs next week.
Hey, appreciate you, my friend.
Traffic stinks.
No, wait a minute. I know what that smell is.
The Frangie Show doesn't.
You're absolutely right.
The Frangie Show.
Go on out and play in the traffic.
Your afternoon traffic deodorant.
Smells super.
On 1010XL.
Blue here for the Blue Crab House, located right off of San Jose. It's on Jewington Creek Road. They've been around since 1996. Indoor, outdoor dining. Also, takeout is available at the Blue Crab House. Open 4:30 to 9, Tuesday through Saturday. Sunday, noon until 9. Remember, Tuesday, $2 margaritas. Wednesday, $1 oyster night. How about the blue crabs? How about my personal favorite, the Canadian snow crabs? Whatever it is that you fancy, you get it right there. The Blue Crab House.
Been in a car crash? I'm local attorney Rick Alexander, and I've made it our mission at the Alexander Law Practice to listen to you so I can fight for the best possible result for you. I've been practicing over 30 years, and our team focuses on guiding you through the entire process. And because fees and reimbursement costs come out at the end of the case, I will never ask you to come out of pocket. For a free review, call 904-400-6600 or log on to alexanderlawpractice.com, Jacksonville.
The best value for golf in Jacksonville remains Cimarron. Totally reestablished with new tee boxes, improved fairways and greens. Also a brand new restaurant with indoor and outdoor settings and live music. Join the Wild One loyalty program online at Cimarron Golf. When's the last time you played Cimarron? Cimarron Golf Club on 210, the Wild One.
WJXL AM Jacksonville Beach. WJXL FM Jacksonville Beach.
PRP treatment is kind of the thing these days, and in many cases, it eliminates the need for surgery. This is Sheridan Tootin, and my experience with PRP from Southeast Orthopedic Specialist has been nothing short of great. I'm really feeling much better now. Ask your Southeast Orthopedic Specialist doctor about PRP treatment.
This is Dr. Kevin Murphy with Southeast Orthopedic Specialists, where athletes are treated like pros.
Relieve pain and get back to life. Southeast Orthopedic Specialists.
Hi, folks. It's Frank Frangie. Look, when it comes to glass needs around the home, there's one name I trust, Lee & Kate's Glass. Those beautiful custom glass shower enclosures, maybe a new mirror, a glass tabletop. They can even replace your foggy or cracked glass without having to replace the whole window. Lee & Kate's is local. They're family-owned. They've been a part of our community since 1926. Boy, they've taken care of me, including our brand new offices at Walk-Off Charities. They did a great job. I promise they'll do the same for you. Visit LeeandKatesGlass.com.
Tucker Equipment Rental in Neptune Beach. You just don't rent quality machines, you rent quality customer service.
Hi, I'm Kevin.
And I'm Dave. Tucker Equipment Rental has been supplying Jacksonville with equipment and event rental for over 50 years.
From commercial and homeowner projects, we've got what you need: lifts, dirt equipment, and landscape equipment.
And don't forget about event rentals, from festivals to weddings to backyard barbecues.
Local, knowledgeable, and always ready to help.
Tucker Equipment Rentals.
You need it, we've got it. Come see us.
Hey Jacksonville, it's Dan Hicken with a game changer. I've tested the field, and Checkmate Coatings is my new go-to for durable, jaw-dropping floor coatings. Better play, better results.
I'm Brendan from Checkmate Coatings. Our precision coatings make your floors the MVP of any space.
Slam dunk your floors at checkmatecoatings.com. Checkmate Coatings, your floor's missing piece.
Checkmate Coatings, your floor's missing piece. You're shrimping a bag.
Baseball is back. Jumbo Shrimp Baseball at the newly renovated Five-Star Ballpark is your home for affordable family fun. Tickets start at just $5. Fireworks after every Friday home game and kids round the bases after Sunday games. Log on to jackshrimp.com for tickets and details. Jumbo Shrimp Baseball, affordable family fun.
Frank Frangie here. I was talking to a buddy the other day. His HOA told him his old fence had to go. I said, man, call Coil Fencing. They've been around the block since 1927. Heck, they probably built half the fences in Jacksonville. They do it all. Tough chain link for security. Those fancy aluminum ones the HOA actually likes. Nearly a century of keeping yards safe and looking good. If you need a fence, call Coil. You can trust the folks at Coil. 904-356-4821 or visit coiljacks.com, COYLE, jacks.com.
Want a simple way to boost your company's image without a big renovation? A fresh paint job in your brand's colors can increase recognition up to 80%. At Performance Painting, we help companies stand out with clean, on-brand finishes that impress clients and energize employees. From color consultations to low-odor coatings that won't disrupt operations, we've got you covered. Visit performance-painting.com to schedule a friendly estimate. Performance Painting. Prepare, protect, preserve.
Performance Painting.
Guys, your lawn's the home field. Now you can champion your St. Augustine grass. TopDressing.com just hit Jacksonville with a game-changing patented process. Aerate and transform your turf into a fairway-worthy masterpiece. Less water, shorter cuts, and the envy of every neighbor. No one else delivers a perfect 10 lawn like this. Visit TopDressing.com and dominate your block with the same process that golf courses use. Top dress your lawn like the pros with TopDressing.com.
1010XL is presented by Farah and Farah, exclusive injury law firm of the Jacksonville Jaguars. Protecting you and your family. Call 396-5555. Jacksonville. Hacker After Dark on 1010XL.
Halftime, Hacker After Dark, 1 hour down, 1 hour to go. We'll take you up till 10 o'clock as we do every night right here on 1010XL and on 92.5 FM. Coming up towards the bottom of the 9 o'clock hour, our NFC East previews. One division per week leading up to the start of Jaguar training camp. This week, it's the NFC East. We will make stops later on in the week in Washington, in Dallas, and in New York. Tonight, it's the defending world champions. What does the offseason look like for the Philadelphia Eagles? My buddy Jeff Kerr, CBSSports.com, who's based up in Philadelphia, will join me to talk about the Eagle offseason. I'll also throw a Travis Hunter question at him as well. So Jeff Kerr, CBS Sports at the bottom of the hour. Coming up inside of 15 minutes, Blake Lovell of the Southeastern 16 podcast. He's one of our main college basketball guys. It was a big day for the University of Florida. Boogie Flan, one of the best remaining players in the portal, was thought to be a first-round pick in the NBA draft, took his name out of the draft, came back to school, transferring out of Arkansas, so leaving John Calipari and heading to Todd Golden and the University of Florida as he commits earlier today. So we'll talk with Blake Lovell about that, about Alex Condon and what his future looks like. Ruben Chinyalu back in the mix as well. A lot of Gator basketball news. Blake Lovell joins us in less than 15 minutes. Speaking of the University of Florida, look, no one's ever going to confuse me for a huge college baseball fan, but just being a sports fan, I know what it's like to start 1-11 and now be over 500 in conference play, which is exactly what the Gators have done tonight in baseball. They beat South Carolina in round number 1 of the SEC tournament. They advance tomorrow to take on Ole Miss. But Denmark, 1-11 to now 16-15. The Gators have now won 15 of their last 19 SEC games in what is no doubt the toughest conference in America. Look, Kevin O'Sullivan's got a national title to his credit. He's got countless NCAA regionals and College World Series appearances. But I would have to think, just on the surface, at least what we've seen so far, man, this has got to be one of his best managing jobs, does it not?
I mean, the best two managing jobs that he's had, you'd probably say, are last year and this year. This year he started 1-11, and now you just won a game in the SEC tournament. You're probably going to make the field of 64 for either the regionals. And
heck, they might host at this point.
Yeah, they might host one. And last year, the round they went on, I mean, I don't think anybody expected that when they were doing it, when they were losing all those games in the middle of the year last year. So, you always look at, coaching and managing for baseball, the wins and losses and how far you go in the postseason. But, I mean, the injuries that they've had this year is just insane. I mean, it's almost feels like they've had one almost every week. And yet here they are, have won a game in the SEC tournament and probably can have a chance to win tomorrow against Ole Miss.
I mean, look, the bottom line is when you're managing 18, 19, 20-year-olds, you start 1-11, it would have been very easy to go, woe is me. This is not our year. To heck with this. I'm thinking about my future now. No. From 1-11, the very rock bottom of the Southeastern Conference, to now 16-15, and in winter today over South Carolina. They play Ole Miss tomorrow. Terrific job by Kevin O'Sullivan. We mentioned the NBA playoffs and the NHL playoffs both resumed tonight. Game 1 of the Western Conference Finals in the NBA going on right now. Back and forth early. Minnesota, an early 19-17 lead on Oklahoma City. Anthony Edwards, 5 early points. Julius Randle, who's been phenomenal for Minnesota, has a couple of threes early. Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, who's just an incredible player, leads OKC with 9. Again, early Minnesota 19-17, game 1 of the NBA Western Conference Finals. Also game 1 of the NHL's Eastern Conference Finals. The Florida Panthers looking to go back-to-back. Remember, they hoisted the Stanley Cup a year ago. They're back in the Eastern Conference Finals. They're up on Carolina 2-1 at the first intermission. We'll keep you updated as the series progress. But Florida, an early lead in game 1 of the Eastern Conference Finals in the NHL. And again, back and forth, OKC, Minnesota, game 1 of the Western Conference Finals in the National Basketball Association. Again, Jeff Kerr, CBSSports.com, talking Philadelphia Eagles, kicking off our NFC East preview. That comes up at the bottom of the 9 o'clock hour. Coming up next, let's talk a little Gator basketball. What has been a really good offseason for Todd Golden. They're actually at the White House tomorrow to meet with President Trump after winning the national championship. But they land the best player probably remaining in the portal today in Arkansas transfer Boogie Flan. They get Ruben Chinyelu back. We're all waiting on Alex Condon. What does all of it mean for the Gators, who are going to try to repeat as national champions? Blake Lovell of the Southeastern 16 podcast joins me next here on a Tuesday night in Jacksonville, Florida. We're glad you're with us. Hacker After Dark till 10 o'clock right here on 1010XL and on 92.5 FM.
There's a magic in live radio that crackles with life and energy.
Let's go home!
Your home for live play-by-play is 1010XL.
Baloo here for Smunez Vision. Why Smunez Vision? Well, I've been with Dr. Neil Smunez now since I got back to Jacksonville in 2006. 37 years of experience he has. Smunez Vision is a family organization that focuses on personal high-quality medical and surgical eye care. Dr. Catherine Smunez is fellowship trained in cornea and cataract surgery and all refractive surgery. Combined, that's 30 years plus in laser eye surgery. Visit SmunezVision.com today. Care you can see.
Buying a diamond, wedding band, or piece of fashion jewelry in Jacksonville? You have two choices. You can go to locally owned Beard's Diamonds, or you can go to one of those mega national chain jewelry stores. The national chains are pretty much all the same. In fact, did you know that some of them are owned by the same conglomerate? Yes, the same Wall Street company owns all the big names. So if you're looking for extreme value with genuine personal attention, come experience the Beard's Diamond difference. At Beard's, our diamonds come straight from the source. We hand select each one for maximum brilliance. We don't have to apply corporate markups and tack on salespeople commissions, so we beat the chains on price every single day. Beards has the strongest warranties, not gotcha clauses in fine print. Beards has all the top designers, including Tacori and Viraggio. Beards doesn't have out-of-state regional managers calling about sales quotas. We are all local, family-owned with total freedom to do what's right for our customers. Beards Diamonds, all the selection, quality, value, and service you want from local people, accountable only to you. Beards in the St. John's Town Center.
This is Greg McGarity, President and CEO of the TaxSlayer Gator Bowl. I'm here to share that the Gator Bowl is actually a year-round organization. We're known for the TaxSlayer Gator Bowl football game, which has been a Jacksonville staple for more than 80 years. Off the football field, the Gator Bowl has also hosted the annual Florida State baseball game, a champion of local youth through Gator Bowl charities, and a strong networking organization of local individuals and companies through our membership. We're actually looking to grow membership, which is an affordable, fun way for you to get involved and give back to our community. To learn more, visit GatorBowl.com for more information.
Shopping with your parents can be embarrassing.
Why would they sell jeans with holes in them? I'm going to speak to the manager.
Mom!
That hoodie is giving. You should get it. YOLO.
Thanks to the Chase mobile app, your kid can shop independently while you keep an eye on their spending. So you can go from...
We can be twinsies.
...to...
How was shopping? Saw you stayed on budget.
Thanks, Mom. Freedom for kids, control for parents. That's family banking from Chase.
Account subject to approval. Chase mobile app is available for select mobile devices. Message and data rates may apply. JP Morgan Chase Bank N.A. Member FDIC.
A judge swings the gavel and I pound the hammer. I'm not judging, just hammering. Hammer Time with Hayes Carlyon. Weekdays on The Frangie Show.
Hammer Time with Hayes. Driven by Southside Kia on 1010XL.
The 2025 season schedule has dropped, and single-game tickets are on sale now. Be at the bank to watch Travis Hunter, Trevor Lawrence, and the Jaguars take on the biggest names in the NFL. Don't miss your favorite matchup and secure your tickets now by visiting Jaguars.com/tickets or call 904-633-2000. See you this fall, Jags fans.
Yes, sir. That's the best decision.
I love it.
It's Work Zone Awareness Week, Florida. Every year, lives are lost in work zones because of speeding and distractions. When you see orange cones, remember, slow down, follow the signs, and stay focused. Workers are counting on you to get home safely, and so are their families. Let's work together to prevent crashes and save lives. A safety reminder from the Florida Department of Transportation. Slow your roll. Safety's the goal.
Attention business owners and property managers. Hurricane season is right around the corner. Is your property ready? Call the pros at Duck Duck Rooter for expert storm drain cleaning and hydrojetting. Our powerful VACCON truck clears the way so your drains flow freely when the rain hits. Call 904-862-6769 today to schedule your service and protect your property before the storms start rolling in. Duck Duck Rooter, your trusted name in storm drain maintenance. Visit us at duckduckrooter.com. We are a proud partner of the Jacksonville Jaguars.
Yo, E.T. here, and I need you to beat the heat this summer with cool escapes and non-stop fun in Clay County. Tackle indoor adventures head-on, throw axes at Live by Axe, or smash your stress away at Just Smash That. Then kick back with drinks, good food, and fandom vibes at Nakama Anime Bar or Leaderboard Arcade and Bar. Whether you're blowing off steam or just looking to chill, Clay County got your perfect indoor getaway. Find your cool at exploreclay.com. That's exploreclay.com.
Denny Thompson here. You gotta check out Tyson's Showroom Home Theater with surround sound and comfy theater chairs. You can transform your living room into a cinematic experience. I could stay there to watch all my games. It's that comfortable. Call Tyson today and bring the theater experience home. Tyson Sound and Security, your security, home theater, and home automation experts. New showroom at 3555 U.S. Highway 17 in Fleming, Iowa.
Lauren Brooks here for Terminix. Did you know that mosquito bites could lead to heartworm for your dog or cat? When mosquitoes show up, pet parents want them gone. Terminix takes mosquitoes down fast, just like they did at my house for our pup. Terminix knows that pets are part of the family. They do what it takes to help protect them. When mosquitoes show up, so does Terminix. Don't live with a mosquito problem, Terminix it. Visit Terminix.com today to schedule a free inspection online. That's TERMINIX.com.
1010XL is presented by Farah & Farah, exclusive injury law firm of the Jacksonville Jaguars. Protecting you and your family. Call 396-5555. Jacksonville. Now, another great guest on the Checkmate Coatings phone line. Hello. Your floor's missing piece.
Back here on 1010XL at 92.5 FM in the city of Jacksonville. We are glad you are with us. Big news for the Florida Gators in the last 24 hours. First off, Ruben Chinyelu announces he's coming back, taking his name out of the draft. So he's going to be back in the Gator lineup next year for the defending national champions. And we find out earlier today that one of the best transfer guards in the portal, Boogie Flan from Arkansas, has also committed to the University of Florida. Blake Lovell is one of our guys when it comes to SEC basketball. He is the host of the Southeastern 16 podcast, and he's always kind enough to join us here on 1010XL. Blake, how you doing?
Yeah, I'm doing well, Ryan. Good to talk to you as always.
Hey, Blake, appreciate it on short notice. All right, Boogie Flan, one of the best transfer guards in the portal, commits to Florida. His name was in the NBA draft as recently as, 72 hours ago before he took it out. What does the commitment of Flan today, in your opinion, mean for the Gators?
Yeah, I mean, I think it clearly, when all the conversation, as we know, when you win the national championship, it's always, all right, well, how do you do it again? And can you be a team that wins back-to-back? Because obviously for the longest time, that didn't happen. After Florida did it, back when they did, UConn wins the back-to-back national championships. And now, you're kind of saying, all right, let's start a discussion for Florida. It's early, but let's see what it looks like. And, well, as you started to look together at the roster and think, all right, well, we're going to spend with Condon, Chinyelu, as you said, makes his return in order to be one of the favorites heading into next season. But now, when you add someone like this to the mix, I think it sort of immediately vaults Florida into, if not, in my opinion, maybe the top spot, one of the top three spots at worst, probably, in terms of your favorites to win the national championship, just based on what we see on paper. Because to me, he was kind of that missing piece. Obviously, they had added, Xavier Lee coming in from Princeton, who I think is going to be able to certainly give them a very good dynamic in the backcourt. But Boogie Flan is he's a different beast. And I think when you look at just the overall skill set that he's going to have, this was really, when you looked at the roster on paper and said, if they can just get him, then I think you're looking at a team that, by this time, maybe in August, we may be saying, hey, this is your clear favorite to win the whole thing again next year.
So the the four guards, if you include Aberdeen, that are gone. All right, Aberdeen, and then obviously Richard, Martin, and Clayton. Now, Xavier Lee, do you expect him to be kind of the Will Richard of the group, where Boogie Flan is hopefully going to be somewhat of a version of Walter Clayton?
It's a great question, because we were actually talking about this morning after we, kind of knew that the Boogie Flan was going to wind up here. And we're just thinking, look at all the different ways maybe that you can use those two guys in particular, and Flan and Lee, because, if you look at Lee, he's setting the assist record at Princeton, and you just kind of think about the way that they play at Princeton in terms of that approach, right? Sure, they're going to be different tweaks with different coaches, but they play that sort of style where, being able to value the basketball, that court awareness, those kind of things are so important, because it is kind of a fluid type offense. And when you look at, what Todd Golden's able to do just from a creativity standpoint, the way they, use analytics and all this stuff, I think it's a great fit to be able to use Lee as kind of a guy. And there may be times where he's got, the ball in his hands the most. You may put Boogie Flan off the ball a little bit and be able to kind of, again, use your creativity to get him more open possibilities, whether that's, being able to hit mid-range shots, getting to the basket, those kind of things. There may be other ones where you're like, hey, let's put the ball in Boogie Flan's hands as much as possible, and we're going to move Lee around a little bit, knowing he's a guy that can shoot the ball and do those kind of things. And I just think that's a good problem to have, right? When you look at maybe the pairing of these two and knowing, as well, I mean, there's some guys on this roster based on all the guys that are returning and with the additions of Flan and Lee, there's not a lot of talk necessarily on potentially some of the freshmen being able to come in and kind of land into some of these roles, because it's just a team that could be, as we said, that loaded. If they return their entire front court with Condon coming back, I think just being able to use Lee and Flan and be very, very fluid in terms of your approach, I think that's the luxury that we may be talking about with this team once we get into next season.
A couple of more for Blake Lovell, the host of the Southeastern 16 podcast. A big day for the Florida Gator basketball team as they land Boogie Flan, the transfer guard from Arkansas. Will Richard and Walter Clayton were both there, lost in the first round, came back, improved their games, but the arrival of Elijah Martin was such a huge deal, Blake. And now Martin's obviously gone too as he graduates. All the talk about Lee and all the talk about Flan now, you almost forget there's another transfer guard that's already there, and A.J. Brown, who was a 13-point-a-game guard at Ohio. Could A.J. Brown potentially be the Elijah Martin portion of this?
Yeah, absolutely. And I think it's a great point, right? Because like you said, I mean, it's just when you think of all the potential storylines with this team, and, it's now, adding Boogie Flan to the mix. Like, you're talking about the top three storylines on this team, and we're not even talking about guys like that, like an A.J. Brown, who you understand that the reason they brought this guy in is because they feel like, hey, he's going to come in. And when we talk about depth, and I keep saying, I think in this era, I know sometimes people just kind of scoff at the idea that you need depth or depth is overrated. I don't think it is. And I think especially in this era, because you just know that sometimes when you're putting a new team together every single offseason now, you don't have guys who are playing 3 or 4 years together where it's a lot more predictable in terms of how exactly they're going to mesh. You're going to have more of that unpredictability. And so when you're bringing in guys, you're putting them in these spots and kind of looking and saying, all right, this is what we envision as their role. And I think when you look at A.J. Brown, he's certainly someone, when you look at, like you said, what he was able to achieve, coming out of last season at Ohio, and now I think how you plug him into the mix, no, it's not just going to be Boogie Flan and Xavier Lee. Like, you're going to have other guys that are going to rotate in, right? We talked about guys last year that popped up in different moments, whether it's Clapstar, guys like that. I mean, and again, look at this freshman class. Some of these guys that I think are fully expected, whether it's, Lloyd or Ingram or something like that, they're probably going to find a spot somewhere. And so from that perspective, like, you have to look at all these guys like an A.J. Brown and just think, hey, this is, again, the luxury I think that this Florida team's going to have is that they just kind of look at the possibility of being able to use these guys in different ways. And I think that certainly when you look at the way this thing could play out, it could be really good for the Gators.
Blake, as we begin to wrap up, let's assume, at least for this portion of the conversation, that Condon does not come back. More on that in a moment. Chinyalu, Hauk, Hanlockton. Can Florida be one of the best teams in the country with those three in the front court?
I think so. And I think it's just because, I think people have to certainly remember that with Hanlockton, right? I mean, we say he was the East back in last year. It really wasn't. Like, once we knew he was available, Todd Golden just said, hey, he's good to go. And they were, I think that first game back or second game back, whatever it was, like, he's playing 19, 20 minutes, whatever it was. And I think you got to remember, like, hey, this was a guy that was the starter, before that. And it's just, you kind of go back to feeling like, hey, he can easily kind of plug back in and the impact he can have on the game. And that's where, like I said, the thing about Thomas Hauk, of course, is that you can play him in multiple areas, and you've kind of seen the breakout possibility with him. So you can kind of maneuver those guys around with those three in particular. And I think something else just quickly to mention about this team, and my colleague, Max Barr, I know you've talked to before, mentioned this too. It's like, let's say that Condon, either he does come back or doesn't come back. You're still looking at a team now with Boogie Flan and saying there are probably at least 3 or 4 guys on that roster who are going to be future NBA players. How many teams can you say that about in the country right now on paper? Sure, there are some teams out there that are going to send several guys to the NBA and they'll go on to have fine careers. But when you look at just the potential for this Florida roster, with or without Condon, and again, we're talking about, how Chinyalu, look, Han Logden's a guy that's still with some development. You can't teach the size and the different skills that you bring. And then, of course, Flan and some of these younger guys that we could see there in a couple of years. You're just looking at a team that's filled with talent. And that's where, even if you still have a decision that has to be made with Condon, there are so many ways you can be flexible and maneuver this roster around to still be the best team in the SEC next season and still be, one of, if not the favorite to win the national championship.
Blake, quickly, if Condon comes back, it's the best front court in America, correct?
No question in my mind. I just don't think there's another front court out there that can, we tie into the last conversation, right? That could theoretically, send every guy to the NBA at some point in the future, maybe. It's just, that's probably the way you're looking at it from that standpoint. And so, there's no one out there that would be able to rival what Florida has from a depth standpoint, because, right, that's the same conversation we had at the end of last year. That's why they won the national championship. Absolutely, Walter Clayton. The backcourt was tremendous, but I think the one thing that sort of helped guide Florida to that championship was just the fact that no one could kind of match all the different guys that they're throwing at you throughout the course of the game. If Condon returns, they have the best front court in America, I think, without question. And I think, again, that could be the reason why we're looking up, next April and they're cutting down the nets again.
Blake, final question. We got about 90 seconds. Todd Golden in the transfer portal. Walter Clayton, Will Richard, Elijah Martin, Ruben Chinyalu. If you want to go back to Tyrese Samuel, if you want to go back to that team that exited in the first round, and then this year with Boogie Flan, A.J. Brown, Xavier Lee, is there a better coach right now in the portal than Todd Golden?
It's hard to find one, because that's the thing. And, immediately when the Boogie Flan transfer happens, we're reacting in real time and we're like, hey, this puts Florida as maybe the favorite to win the whole thing again. And people are like, well, what if it doesn't work out? And my response is simply what you just said. I am certainly willing to give Todd Golden the benefit of the doubt at this point, because when you look at who he's brought in and you look at the success they've had with the nucleus that they built each season and how that led to a national championship this past season, how do I not give him the benefit of the doubt and say they know what they're doing? They are going to find a way to make this work, even if you have some questions, because sure, Boogie Flan's not Walter Clayton. Xavier Lee's not Walter Clayton. And we completely understand that. But is there a way now to put that combination together to where you're still picking up some of that production? And like we mentioned earlier, it's identifying the next Elijah Martin or Will Richard. They have proven they know how to do that from a staff standpoint. And so I think from that perspective, you've got to look at this and feel like, hey, it's time to give Todd Golden the benefit of the doubt when it comes to putting the roster together, because we saw how it could pay off last season.
He's the SEC basketball guy, Blake Lovell of the Southeastern 16 podcast. Blake, tell the good folks here in Jacksonville about the podcast and where they can find it.
Yeah, I appreciate it, Ryan. Yeah, you can check us out on YouTube. Of course, lots of SEC basketball off-season stuff you can find there, breaking down this particular edition for Florida and really just the SEC as a whole. If you want to kind of look ahead to the 25-26 season, find us there on YouTube, Southeastern 16.
Blake Lovell, Southeastern 16 podcast. Blake, thank you for joining me on short notice, pal. We'll do it again soon.
Thanks, Ryan. Appreciate it, man.
Bringing sports talk to the First Coast. This is 1010XL, Jacksonville Sports Radio.
Blue here for the Blue Crab House, located right off of San Jose. It's on Jewington Creek Road. They've been around since 1996. Indoor-outdoor dining. Also, takeout is available at the Blue Crab House. Open 4:30 to 9, Tuesday through Saturday. Sunday, noon until 9. Remember, Tuesday, $2 margaritas. Wednesday, $1 oyster night. How about the blue crabs? How about my personal favorite, the Canadian snow crabs? Whatever it is that you fancy, you get it right there. The Blue Crab House.
Bueller. Stay cooler with Bueller.
Jason, I don't see how a new air conditioner is going to work out for me.
Well, you like air conditioning, right?
Oh, yeah, totally. But a new air conditioner could be expensive.
Well, not if you...
to save up the money, I probably have to give up my extra hot skim latte every morning. Now I fall asleep during a staff meeting, get volunteered for the summer picnic committee, and end up sitting in the dunk tank all afternoon getting water up my nose.
Okay, look at it this way. Put on these sunglasses. Whoa. Bueller Air and Plumbing puts in a new AC. We hook you up with affordable financing, and you stay cool and comfortable for just $149 a month. Cool?
Cool. I see it now.
Life can be hard on your budget. If you suffer through the heat because of a broken AC you could totally afford to replace, you could miss it.
Stay cooler with Bueller.
Visit BuellerAir.com.
Hacker here, taking you back exactly 1 year this week. I was only 9 weeks into Awaken 180 and had already dropped 54 pounds. Seriously, that's like shedding a first grader in just over 2 months. That's wild, right? Fast forward to today, 2 months into my maintenance, and I'm still down over 115 pounds. Not a pound put back on. It's like Awaken 180 gave my weight a permanent eviction notice. Now listen up. We all want to have goals, but sometimes they seem to be far-fetched. This one won't be. Dropping 40 pounds by the 4th with Awaken 180. It's doable when you have a proven program with an excellent coach by your side. Weekly weight loss, enjoying the ride, and reaching your goal. We all did it. No reason you can't. Set your goal, make the call, and reach 40 by the 4th with the solution for weight loss. Online at awaken180weightloss.com or call 844-346-1800.
Prosser here for Lifetime Enclosures and Lifetime Flooring. With the weather starting to turn for the better, look ahead. Get that backyard ready for spring with a new screened-in enclosure. Maximize the space you have and make it great with Lifetime Enclosures and Lifetime Flooring. They truly are best in the business. If you have the space and the idea, give them a call today. Lifetime Enclosures and Lifetime Flooring. Showroom just off Phillips Highway. Tell them Prosser sent you. Proud partner of the Jacksonville Jaguars.
Jacksonville's building a playoff team in team.
All right, we're going to play to win.
Follow 1010XL's coverage of organized team activities. Backed by Heroes Lawn Care and Hurricane Grill and Wings. Tune up the off-season with AA Automotive and 1010XL.
Mia here for my friends at Closets by Design. It's been a few months since they built my custom closet. Even my family is obsessed. And with Father's Day right around the corner, why not surprise Dad with his own custom garage workspace? Tool storage, workbenches, the whole works. Closets by Design creates custom solutions for every space, lifestyle, and budget. That includes Dad's. Call to schedule your free in-home consultation and receive 40% off plus an additional 15% off. Visit closetsbydesign.com.
I'm Stacy, and I want to tell you about my fogged up window fiasco at my house. I called up Mac at Baker Glass. He told me all I needed was a glass replacement. The process was so easy. All within a few days, they came out, measured, called me with an estimate, cut my glass, and came out to install the new ones. Now my view outside is fog-free thanks to Mac and his crew at Baker Glass. And my neighbors think I got some fancy new windows.
I'm back with Baker Glass. No one treats you better.
Hey, Hicken here, or just call me Dreamfinders Danny. For a limited time to ring in the new year, Dreamfinders Homes is offering an amazing 4.99% fixed interest rate. Now's your chance to lock down that rate and get in the game. You heard me right. It's 4.99 fixed interest rate on select move-in ready homes. Visit dreamfindershomes.com for sales event information and get in the game. Interest rate available on select move-in ready homes. Restrictions and limitations apply. Go to dreamfindershomes.com for more details.
Frank Frangie here for Stanley Pools. If you're dreaming of putting in a pool this year, choosing the right company is the most important decision you'll make. I've trusted Stanley Pools to build my pool, renovate my pool, and maintain my pool. Stanley Pools has been the best in the business since 1988, and they're still family-owned. Call them today at 904-269-7277 or find them online at stanleypoolsfl.com. That's Stanley Pools, a family tradition of fine swimming pools.
Okay, for this Cannons of Jacksonville commercial, we need an idea to really come out with a bang.
Like having a guy shot out of a cannon.
Nah, too messy. In fact, Cannons is known for all your towing needs.
So like my car won't start.
No. Towing products. Cannons does custom welding fabrication and installation of trailer hitches, goosenecks, tow bars, truck racks.
So you might say Cannons is my best shot at finding that inventory in stock?
Boom. You said it.
Visit cannonsofjacks.com.
1010XL is presented by Farah & Farah, exclusive injury law firm of the Jacksonville Jaguars. Protecting you and your family. Call 396-5555. Jacksonville. Now, the cool down from the cool guys at Donovan Air Electric and Plumbing. Fast, reliable, and honest service since 87.
Back here on 1010XL at 92.5 FM in the city of Jacksonville. We are glad you are with us. We will go one division per week leading up to the opening of Jaguar training camp. This week, it's been all about the NFC East. We'll make stops in Dallas. We'll make stops in Washington with the New York Football Giants. But right now, it's all about the defending world champion Philadelphia Eagles. And with that, my buddy Jeff Kerr, who's based in Philadelphia for CBSSports.com, always kind enough to join us here on 1010XL. Jeff, how you doing, man?
I'll tell you what, Ryan, that we're starting to get to that point where not that football's coming back, but we're starting to feel that way.
Yeah, there's no doubt. We were at OTAs earlier, and the Jaguars' first week of OTAs this week. All right, it's been a little over 3 months, rather, since the Philadelphia Eagles hoisted that Lombardi trophy. In the last 90-plus days, has the euphoria worn off in the city, or are people still on cloud nine?
They're still on cloud nine. I mean, Philadelphia is a big baseball town, too, so they're into the Phillies, and the Phillies are really good, but you always get that Eagles Go Birds chant or an Eagles chant every once in a while, especially now. But I think with the whole owners' meetings this week and talk of the tush push being banned and the re-seeing of the playoffs, and Eagles fans are just, okay, we won. Now we're going to shove it down your throats because we won and you're trying to change the rules.
Well, obviously, there's a lot of news with the Philadelphia Eagles. Let's begin with Nick Sirianni, right? A guy that you could argue was on the hot seat very recently, is now a world champion and with a brand new contract extension.
Yeah, I agree. And look, as you know, I was actually saying to a couple of people I worked with at CBS today, I covered the Week 6 game against Cleveland when he had his back and forth with the fans and he brought his kids to the podium and it just looked very unprofessional. And I'm thinking to myself, I'm like, is this guy gonna get fired? Or not get fired, but how hot is that seat? And then you talk to the players that week, or especially after the game when you really get them authentic, and they all defended him. And I'm like, oh, maybe he's not on the hot seat. I don't know if his players like him. Maybe they'll turn this thing around. And we all know the end result, but could have happened. I like Nick Sirianni a lot. I mean, the guy, he knows how to win. He's very friendly with media. He's very competitive. He's an interesting guy, but it works. I mean, you don't have a 700 win percentage in your career, just for being nice.
Jeff Kerr, CBSSports.com with us as our NFC East preview continues tonight, talking about the Philadelphia Eagles. Jeff, another year, another offensive coordinator. Now, things have picked up right where they've left off in years past. Eventually, though, is this going to be a problem with having new OCs coming in?
I mean, the Eagles are so used to it. Look, I think they're going to miss Kellen Moore. I thought Kellen Moore and Jalen Hurts worked together very well. But I think Kevin Patullo was kind of like Kellen Moore light, or, he worked with Kellen Moore very closely. I don't think you're going to see that much difference in the offense. I think you'll see a difference in the play calling a bit. I think they're going to want to pass more, but I mean, it's going to be a hindrance for sure. But when you got 10 of 11 guys back on your offense and a lot of talent on there, it should be a seamless transition.
Let's talk about you mentioned Jalen Hurts, obviously a world champion, looked at much, much differently now than he was certainly at this point in 2024. What about the trajectory of Jalen Hurts? Where do you think his career goes from now that he's already a world champion?
It's weird, Ryan. I never thought he was in the Patrick Mahomes, Lamar Jackson, Josh Allen conversation, but if you had to rank the top 5 quarterbacks in football, and if you're counting winning as part of that ranking, he's in the top 5. He wins a lot of games. He's got a championship. He's got a Super Bowl MVP. His rushing statistics for a quarterback are off the charts. I mean, he's basically redefining that position. Lamar's doing it. He's doing it. Josh Allen's doing it. But, man, I mean, the guy just wins football games. He knows how to win. He knows how to overcome adversity. Whenever you think he has a deficiency in this game, he comes out and proves to you he doesn't. He's very stoic. He's very I'm trying to think of the right word for him. Like, he's just one of those quarterbacks that you probably hate him if he's not on your team, but if he's on your team, you love him. And he knows how to work with the talent he's got and how to maximize the talent he's got. And I think that is a lost art amongst the quarterback position. So, look, I don't think he's the best quarterback in football, but he's at worst, he's 7 or 8 at this point?
Well, pretty interesting. I know you're right. He is. And with a world championship, again, it is vastly different the way he's looked at now compared to where he was. And look, I mean, Jalen Hurts was certainly benefited by Saquon Barkley, an unbelievable free agent pickup. I mean, how many times does a guy leave a team, go to one of the team's bitter rivals, and have the year that Saquon Barkley did in any sport, football or any other sport you want to choose? How is Saquon Barkley being looked at heading into year number 2 there in Philadelphia?
I mean, you hit the nail on the head with his season. And look, that was one of the things I predicted last year. I'm like, he's going to have a monster year. As someone who went to Penn State, watched him at Penn State, know him personally, it's, you could tell he was hungry. He wanted an opportunity like this. Pretty much it's like, okay, just, give me the ball and see what I can do now that I got an offensive line and I got a quarterback. And boy, he made the most out of those opportunities. I mean, you rushed for 2,504 yards, including the postseason. That's an NFL record. You're doing something right. And I worry about him in 2025 just because of all the carries he got and all the yards he ran. And, there's bound to be a drop-off. But, again, I mean, this guy takes care of his body. He takes care of himself. He knows what he needs to do to get in shape. And I think that's going to be his next challenge, I'm going to break the mold of the 2,000-yard rusher. I am going to run. I'm going to try to do this again. And I think Derrick Henry is an inspiration for him.
Yeah, what can he possibly do for an encore? Because, anything that he does this year, how can he live up to what he did last year? It was such an unbelievable season. We think of Saquon Barkley. Again, Jeff Kerr of CBS Sports here with us. Obviously, A.J. Brown, Devonta Smith. How would you assess the skill position around Jalen Hurts coming back for the defending champions?
Pretty much everybody's back, right? Dallas Goedert's going to be back now. They're going to rework his contract. So he's back in the fold, which I think is huge for them. I did not want them getting rid of Dallas Goedert. I kind of said, you know what? You can't trade him. Just let him play out the last year of his deal and try to repeat year. And it looks like that's going to work out. And, you lost Mekhi Becton on the offensive line. So you got some questions at right guard, but you still got everybody there back. A.J. Brown's still really good. Devonta Smith's really good. Jahan Dotson is a really good third receiver for this offense. You're going to have him for one more year. This offense is going to score points. They may score more points than they did last year, and we all know how good they were toward the end of the season.
There were some losses on the defense. What is the level of concern defensively heading into the season?
On the panic meter, I'd probably go about 6 out of 10. I did like their picks early in the draft, but we don't know when Jahai Campbell's going to be ready. Because he's battling a shoulder injury. We don't know if he'll be ready for the start of the season or not. It might be like a Cooper DeJean type thing. Now, DeJean's injury happened before training camp, but again, DeJean, he'll be a year better. Quinyon Mitchell will be a year better. I like the Andrew Makuba pick. I think he'll end up playing. I wouldn't be opposed to them getting veterans in here like a Justin Simmons just for competition. What I worry about, Ryan, is the pass rush. Not the interior pass rush, because Jalen Carter, Jordan Davis, Jalen Carter's really good. We know Jordan Davis is getting better as a pass rusher. Moro Jones ready to take that step for Milton Williams, but here are their edge rushers: Jalen Hunt, Nolan Smith, Bryce Huff, Azeez Ujulari, and Josh Uche. I'm like, yeah, that's not it. They're going to have to get somebody. I'd be calling the Bengals up about Trey Hendrickson if he's available.
Well, that would be a very Eagles thing to do, no question. Final Eagles question, because I got a couple of Jaguar things I want to throw at you at the end, Jeff. In the NFC East, we've gone through the division all week. I think the consensus thought to me, and what I've gathered is, all right, you got the defending world champions. Washington looks to be pretty good, and they added Laramie Tunsil and Deebo Samuel. Dallas thinks they're going to be good, and the Giants have at least added some pass rush. And what is your thought overall on the division?
I think the division is going to be better. I think the Giants' defense, especially their pass rush, is going to be very good. Now, I don't think the Giants are going to be very good because they're basically they got Russell Wilson, Jameis Winston, and a rookie quarterback. But it does feel like the Giants are probably a year or two away. It doesn't feel like they're going to compete, at least in 2025. Dallas should be better just because Dak Prescott's back. I think we can all agree Dak Prescott knows how to win football games in the regular season and can get them to the playoffs. So I think they're going to be better just on merit there. They still got to get the Micah Parsons thing figured out. Washington, I'm curious to see how Gene Daniels evolves in year 2. And it's weird, right? Because the Commanders, I think they're a really good team, but I think they're an older team. Like, they got a lot of older guys, like Tunsil, you mentioned. Austin Eckler's older. Zach Ertz is older, and look, they got some nice pieces. Bobby Wagner's older. Look, they got some nice pieces, but you have to wonder if playing a tougher schedule this year, they may take a step back.
Final moments with Jeff Kerr of CBSSports.com. Jeff, because you cover the league nationally as well, first and foremost, the Jaguars did sign a former Philadelphia Eagle, a guy that started 6 games last year. What's a quick thought from you on Fred Johnson on the offensive line?
He was one of my favorite guys to talk to in the locker room over the last 2 years, Ryan. So I'll tell you what, I think you guys will like Fred Johnson a lot. He's got a great personality. He's really improved as a tackle. Remember, he was terrible with Cincinnati, and he used to joke with me. I said, "You got a message to yourself from Sunday?" He goes, "Yeah, don't do what I did in Cincinnati." It was always funny about that because he had a lot of penalties and gave up a lot of sacks, but he's really improved under Jeff Stoutland, and as you probably saw in minicamp, he's a big guy. Mm-hmm. He's a big guy, and he's from Florida. He went to he went to University of Florida, so probably loves being down there. I'm happy for Fred. I think Jaguars fans are really going to like him. I hope he can get a chance to start.
Yeah, there's a thought that he's going to be in a battle anyway with one of those starting offensive line spots up for grabs. And then, Jeff, I haven't talked to you since James Gladstone did what he did and traded up to take Travis Hunter in the draft. As you can imagine, Travis Hunter is getting all the talk down here during OTAs. The first 3 videos I did at the first OTA practice all were Travis Hunter related out there on the practice field. What was your thought about the trade and Travis Hunter coming to Jacksonville?
I love Travis Hunter, the player. It remains to be seen if Jacksonville gave up too much for Travis Hunter. I think that was an offer Cleveland couldn't refuse, but it just seems like Travis Hunter works in Jacksonville, right? Now you got him, you got Brian Tom. You got Trevor Lawrence, 2 studs at wide receiver. If Jacksonville just kept if they just kept Travis Hunter at wide receiver, think how good he could be. Like just playing wide receiver. We haven't even gotten to the defensive aspect of it yet. But there were 2 guys in this draft. I'm like, all right, just put them on my team and let's go. And that was Abdul Carter and Travis Hunter. And look, I like how he wants to play both ways. I don't think he can keep that up forever. I don't know how Jacksonville's going to distribute this. It's going to be fun to watch, but man, I think Travis Hunter could be an absolute baller at wide receiver if you just kind of kept him there. And with him and Brian Thomas, that offense should be immediately better.
And Jeff, final question, and you've covered the league for a while. To your point, physically is one thing, obviously, but just the mental reps to be in the wide receiver room and to know that game plan every week, and to be in the defensive backs room and know that game plan every week. I mean, that's just crazy to think about. There are only 24 hours in a day. I think the thought is he's going to be a full-time wide receiver and maybe get 15, 20, 25 snaps on defense. I mean, is that possible? No one's really done it in a long, long time in the NFL. I mean, what's your thought on that?
The last person we remember doing it is probably Dion in '96, right? Remember, he stepped in to be the number 2 wide receiver on Dallas because they were short a couple guys, and he did pretty well for himself. But even Dion admitted like his defensive cornerback abilities fell off, and then when he went back there full time is when he started becoming all pro again. So. I give Travis Hunter credit. He wants to learn both. I think he could be a gadget defensive guy, but for him wanting to play every snap both ways, that just isn't going to happen. This isn't high school. This is the NFL. I'm going to be rooting for him to do it, but the realist in me says, just kind of learn how to play in the NFL so you could succeed in the NFL, and the rest will take care of itself.
Jeff, tell the good folks here in Jacksonville, man, what you have coming out on CBSSports.com in the coming days.
Well, I'll tell you what, we're going to be ranking 5 coaches on the hot seat for later this week, and I can promise you Liam Cohen will not be on that list because he's a new head coach.
Jeff Kerr, CBSSports.com. Jeff, I know you're busy, man. Thank you for taking time out. We'll talk again soon, pal.
Yeah, sounds great. Thanks, Ryan.
And thank you to my buddy Jeff Kerr of CBSSports.com for joining us tonight here on Hacker After Dark as our NFC East preview kicks off. We made a stop in Philadelphia tonight. Later on in the week, we will certainly go to Washington. We will go to New York. We will go to Dallas as well. One division per week leading up to the start of Jaguar training camp. And tonight we kicked off the NFC East with the defending world champions, a Philadelphia Eagle team that's got a lot of answers already on offense, maybe some questions on defense. You heard Jeff talk there that there was some attrition on the defensive side of the ball. How will they affect the opposing quarterback? We'll see. They usually figure it out in Philadelphia. Obviously, that's why they have a Lombardi trophy. But there are at least some questions on the defensive side of the football. So, again, thank you to Jeff Kerr of CBSSports.com. We obviously spent some time on the Jaguars tonight as it's OTA season right now. They're back on the field earlier today. And we spent some time on the Florida Gators. Look, not only the football team, but the basketball team as they land a huge commitment in the transfer portal from Boogie Flan from Arkansas. So we certainly spent some time on that this evening. Well, that will just about do it, man. It has been a crazy busy Tuesday night edition of Hacker After Dark. We certainly appreciate you guys hanging out with us here on 1010XL and on 92.5 FM. We have a ton of people to thank. Again, Jeff Kerr, CBSSports.com, based up in Philadelphia, kicked off our NFC East previews talking about the Philadelphia Eagles. Thank you to Blake Lovell of the Southeastern 16 podcast as we talked about Todd Golden and the Florida Gators adding a huge commitment from Boogie Flan. They get Ruben Chinyalu back yesterday. Still waiting to see about Alex Condon, but there's no doubt the defending national champions are putting together what appears to be a pretty good roster to try to repeat that championship. John Shipley, Jaguars on SI, joined me back in hour number 1 to break down OTAs. And thank you to Josh Pate of CBS Sports and CBS Sports HQ. Josh does such a good job covering college football. He was down in Gainesville late last week to have a one-on-one sit-down with Billy Napier, and we appreciate Josh joining us here tonight on Hacker After Dark. Now, we will be back tomorrow night on a Wednesday, and we will do it all over again beginning at 8 o'clock. Dylan Denmark was your producer tonight. Dylan, great job as always. I'm the Hacker Ryan Green. And again, Jacksonville, thank you for spending part of your Tuesday